So, catching up on all the extra news that happened in the NHL, because apparently 10 a.m. PST is too late to wake up in order to see news, we had ourselves this bombshell dropped by the LA Kings PR team at 8:30 a.m. this morning. Yeah, see what I'm talking about? Way too early to be going out there and doing stuff, but the LA Kings have indeed relieved Todd McLellan of his duties and named Jim Hiller interim head coach for the remainder of the year, according to VP and GM Rob Blake. Now, firstly, before we dive into the record of Todd McLellan, I do find it interesting that Jim Hiller is the new guy, and the fact that they have already committed to him for the remainder of the year, from now until the start of the postseason and into any potential playoff run. I do think it's interesting to already say, yeah, no, we're not going to hire anybody new. We're not really planning to talk to other people in contention for the remainder of the year. Our plan right now is to take Jim Hiller as the interim head coach, and this will go on till the remainder of the year. I do find it interesting that they're committing to Hiller this quickly, but this is the status that we have. And for Todd McLellan, the way everything has gone this season with the LA Kings, you could very well say that there were a multiple number of things that went wrong. But you could very well debate that McLellan probably should have found himself off this team sooner, considering the extreme downward turn that this LA Kings team took after, let's say, December, pretty much. Starting out the year, I mean, look at all the wins the LA Kings were able to stack up in October and November. On December 7th, with their win against the Canadiens, the Kings were 16-4-3. What a crazy record. They were one of the best teams in the NHL in terms of points percentage. They were one of the best teams in the Pacific, just in terms of the standings. And after this game on December 7th, that's when you started to see losses. 3 in a row against New York, and Winnipeg. Then they bounced back with 1 loss in 5 games, that loss being against Seattle. And then, from there, you could see everything take a huge downward turn. What is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 losses in a row. Of course, 4 of them were in extra time, so they still got loser points. And then with 3 wins in their last, how many games is that? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games? It's been very, very bad for LA this past little stint, and for Todd McLellan, I mean, it's a tale of 2 seasons, really. First half, second half, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde kind of stuff over here. This, you could very well say, was overdue, but you could also say that there were many other problems with the LA Kings in terms of why their results on paper just have absolutely stunk the past few weeks. Everybody's talking about Pierre-Luc Dubois. That's even the first reply over here. Thanks, PLD. He got the coach fired. That's crazy. Nice going, man. And then there are some other conversations to be had. Before we go over to some of those, let's go out there and read the press release by the LA Kings on their website. "We want to thank Todd for his hard work and dedication to the organization," said Blake. "He has done a tremendous job in moving us forward and making a positive impact on our group and in our community. This was not an easy decision, but we felt the change was necessary at this time. Jim is a well-respected member of our staff who is familiar with our players. We are confident in his ability to lead our team effectively during this pivotal time." It then goes over the Jim Hiller scouting report. 54 years old, joined the Kings on July 19th, 2022, and has spent the last 2 seasons from 2022 to 2024 as an assistant coach. He served in the same capacity over the previous 8 seasons with the Islanders, Leafs, and Red Wings. Prior to his NHL coaching debut, Hiller spent 12 seasons in the Western Hockey League and BCHL, including his last 5 years as the head coach of the Tri-City Americans. The native of Port Alberni, BC, was originally selected by the Kings in the 10th round of the '89 draft. So there you go. Nice hometown connection there. Not the Port Alberni, BC stuff, but the homegrown in LA type stuff. Jim Hiller definitely has some history with the Kings, so this is a nice story for a guy who was initially playing, or drafted by LA, back in the 80s. But to dive further into the response to this Todd McLellan firing, let's go out there and read some comments on the RLA Kings sub, because it kind of illuminates just the magnitude as to how bad everything has been. Master Ogwe says, "I don't know how to feel. I just want to get off the L train." Such a fantastic start to the year, undone by one of the worst stretches I can remember as a Kings fan. I'm relatively young, so maybe the older folks in here remember worse. A huge shame, but it needed to be done. And then you have a few replies. I'm not young, and it's been about as bad as I can remember, especially in the context of the talent on the roster, and especially the losses to teams that are just awful. Replicant Case says, I've been a fan for over 30 years, and yeah, that was the worst play I've seen from this team. Definitely the worst performance when adjusted for roster talent and expectations. The only thing that comes kinda close was the first half of 2012. Now you gotta remember that 2012 season was very, very good for LA. They were last to qualify, 8th seed in the Western Conference, yet they beat the Vancouver Canucks in the first round and eventually found themselves in the Stanley Cup Finals, beating Martin Brodeur and the Devils. And I still remember that because I was a scarred Canucks fan, still trying to rebound from the 2011 Stanley Cup Finals loss, only to lose to LA in the first round that season. But yeah, the first half of that 2012 year, probably the worst the Kings have played since this stint right here. I mean, 3 wins in 17 games played. Talk about a stretch for the ages here. Plus losing to all these bad teams in the process. It does not look good. Losing to San Jose, losing to Buffalo, losing to all of these teams here. Just a total night and day difference. Let's go back over onto the Reddit thread and read a few extra things here. I knew it. Todd was clearly devastated in his post-game conference. I don't think this helps at all, especially with just another internal hire. I feel terrible for Todd McLellan. He'll hopefully get the credit he deserves for what he did with us when time passes. This just feels like another John Stevens waste of a year. I agree. His face told the story after the Nashville game. Every coach has a shelf life when the team just starts to tune them out. It doesn't mean they were a bad coach, just that it was time for a change. And whether or not that does spell the end of Todd McLellan in the NHL, I probably would bet to say no. You could understand that when a player has a relationship with a coach, you could definitely see when these players are playing for the coach. When the coach has them play in a system that works, and when it's effective, you know it's effective. It was effective for the first half of the year. Now, I'm not going to go out there and say that, oh, it's PLD's fault, like it's Pierre-Luc Dubois by himself in isolation that has gone out there and caused this ruckus, but it takes two to tango. It is a bunch of players, a bunch of competitive guys, a bunch of talented guys not performing up to their standard, and by around the mid-December part, you could sort of start to see things crack and maybe chip away at the surface here. So Todd McLellan, it's very apparent that he just lost the room. The team was not playing for him. The team was not absorbing what it was that he wanted them to do. And just when it comes to on-ice stuff, when it comes to the work ethic, when it comes to the talent, the contrast between all of those things, it definitely gets really off-putting to think about, but still. At the end of the day, Todd McLellan is gone. He can't win 3 games in 17 and expect to still have a job in one of the largest sports markets in the US. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about Todd McLellan getting fired by the LA Kings, and Jim Hiller, the assistant head coach, going out there and replacing him as the interim head coach for the remainder of the year. If you're a Kings fan, how do you feel about this? Do you think there's anything else we need to talk about in regards to your performance from your team? I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.